So basically, I'm talking from DSIR. So just to give a glimpse to all the members who are not very much acquainted about this DSIR. So Government of India is having a department called MOST, Ministry of Science and Technology, which is having three departments. One is DST, Department of Science and Technology. One is DBT, Department of Biotechnology. And third one is DSIR, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. Of course, this DST and DBT is very well known to everybody because they are very much, keen to give you the grant, but DSIR is very less in grant, but more in regulatory matters of this Government of India, especially for industrial R&D or industry. So DSIR is full name is Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. So that's why we are talking about industrial research, either regulatory or any grant or any different sorts of, matter or issues which is related to the government. Of course, whole CSIR family is working with us, and DSIR is the Ministry of CSIR. So if you see that DSIR is having two autonomous bodies, one is full CSIR family as well as one CDC, Consultancy Development Corporation, which is also aligned with CSIR few days back. And there are two PSU, public sector undertakings, which out of that, many of you are acquainted with one name, that is NRDC, National NIDHI, and another one is CEL, Central Electronics Limited. So apart from these different autonomous bodies or public sector undertakings, DSIR has its own scheme or programs. So there are two main verticals. One is regulatory vertical and another was in scheme vertical. That means funding vertical, grant vertical. So in the scheme or regulatory vertical, if you see, IRDPP is the main vertical, which is called Industrial Research Development Promotion Program, which stands for IRDPP. Under this IRDPP program, DSIR has having three main programs. One is related to the industry, recognition of the industry, and recognition of their R&D centers in very specific form. And it is, that's name of this scheme is basically RDI, Research and Development in Industry. So in-house, it is called an in-house R&D unit of industry. The second one is CSIRO, Scientific and Industrial Research Organizations. So apart from industry, though some organizations are there in this country who are registered under Society Registration Act or Trust Act. So the organizations who are also doing some R&D, and they are also recognized as a society or as a trust, they are coming under that category. And the third one is PFRI, Public Funded Research Institutes. So the government institutes, public funded means where more than 50%, that means around minimum 51% government funding is there, is coming from government exchequers like IIT, NIT, or different universities. They are coming under that category. So all are basically these three different schemes are basically related to recognition and registration of R&D unit, either in industry or society or trust or in university or government organizations like IIT and NIT. The second particle is basically we're talking about different schemes where DSIR gives some funding. So we are not about talking about these schemes today. But yes, DSIR is also having some funding schemes, which is called as PRISM, is very well known. That is, we target the innovators. And other fundings are related to industrial R&D projects, society projects, women-centric projects, different study, different impact assessment, different event also. So these are the different things. If you go to DSIR site, dsir.gov.in, you'll be able to see all these things. But we will be very much strict to disseminate today under IRDPP only first vertical, first scheme, that is in-house R&D unit. So the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research is the nodal department. So the concept of nodal department is each and every department or ministry of Government of India has their specific business allocation. So every department cannot do everything. So this department has been given this activity. What is that activity? That this department will control the regulation of R&D, research and development of this country, either in industry or in scientific and industrial research organization or PFRI, public funded research institutes. So we are the nodal department and we are the authority of Government of India who actually give this recognition and registration. So recognition is predominantly means for that it is recognized that by Government of India that you are doing appropriate R&D as per laid down protocol of Government of India. Registration is basically one step ahead of that, that since you are doing R&D, so you are taking some risk, because in all R&D, you are not been able to get 100% output. So suppose you are putting some money for R&D, so that whole money may be lost. So government will take care of that money in respect of different profit or benefit, which you can get if you have the second level of certificate is called registration. So first is recognition, that you are recognized, your R&D work or activity is recognized by department or Government of India. And since you are recognized, not all, some of your maximum of your center will get that much of benefit, whatever Government of India time to time is announcing. And this recognition procedure, if you see the Government of India has made some benchmarking. So if you see that benchmarking of R&D activities and infrastructure. So in a thumb rule, basically Government of India has laid down some strategy or policy or guidelines, what way you want to say, that you have to have some level of infrastructure, you have to have some level of manpower, R&D manpower, and you should have that much of activities, R&D programs, and with some achievements, so that you will be able to, first thing is that you will be eligible to apply, and then second thing is that you will be evaluated and you will be through from the department. So there are certain level of guidelines or specific parameters, and with some index procedures we actually make it through. So this whole procedures is nothing but some benchmarking. Currently if we see, around 2,118 industries with 2754 R&D units are recognized with DSIR. The figures are almost coming down 5,000 or something, but many industries are clubbing together, many industries are actually marching, many industries are going out, so they are actually taken by some foreign company. So that's why the whole figure as of now, it is up to 31st March 2021, that 2,118 industries, but many industries having more than one R&D centers. That's why the R&D units or R&D centers are around 2,754. If we add this year also, it will be more than 3,000 or approximately 3,100. Around 790 CSIROs, scientific and industrial research organizations, are recognized with us, and around 536 PFRI are recognized with DSIR. Now coming to the eligibility of RDI, there are specific parameters which you can say that is the benchmarking parameters. So first and foremost thing is that the companies would be registered under Companies Act 1956. So if any startups or company wants to register or recognize with DSIR, they have to register under the Companies Act 1956, and which has been actually included Act 2013 also. I got some question in the question box that whether LLP is eligible or not. No, because LLP is not registered under Companies Act. So this is the first criteria. And second things are, this should have a segregated area of 1,000 square feet for R&D, or in case of if it is related to agricultural R&D, agricultural farm R&D, so they should have at least 10 acres of R&D land where they are doing R&D work. So this is the first benchmarking criteria. Second criteria is, and these R&D areas would be segregated from their production or commercial activity as well as quality control activity. Third one is that they should have R&D infrastructure. So equipment and facilities should be in line with their R&D activity as well as manpower. There is no such specific things like, how many manpower should be there, what should be the level of deployment, and also infrastructure. Because we can keep it open, but we can understand, this committee can understand that if you are doing some work of, API synthesis, so you should have some sort of, equipment which is related to API. If you are doing something related to some automobile fabrication, so you should have some design facility, and you should have some minimum proof of concept level fabrication facility, and you should have some sort of, mechanical design validation facility. So those infrastructure you should have. And manpower also. Suppose you are doing in automobile manufacturing some R&D, but your manpower is not related to any mechanical engineer or automobile engineer or any design engineer, so it cannot be possible. So this is actually subjective decision is being taken by the DSIR, but it should be relevant. Third one is relevance of R&D projects. Again, suppose you are doing some sort of, R&D on, say, for example, automobile. So your R&D projects also should be in that line. You are not doing some R&D in packaging materials, and you are actually R&D claiming for automobile industry. And also, if you do separate R&D, your accounting, R&D accounting should also be segregated. What does it mean? Suppose you are spending some raw material, you are spending salary for the manpower, R&D manpower, you are spending some amount for R&D equipment. So that should be segregated from whole amount or expenditure of your business in respect of production or quality control. And in many industries, there's a need of regulatory clearance. Like if you do some sort of, some of your, who have joined today, if any of you are related to a biotechnology company, you know that if you are doing some sort of recombinant DNA technology, you are required to be cleared by IBSC and RCGM. And if you are in chemical industry, you should have some sort of, clearance from Environment Pollution Act. So this type of regulatory clearance you should have to do. So some sort of, safety measures, if you are doing some sort of radioactive material R&D, so you need some sort of regulatory clearance from this AERB, Atomic Energy Board, AB and AERB. So this type of regulatory clearances are also required. These are the basic criteria or eligibility for RDI application itself. So now question is that why you are interested for this recognition. So first thing is that this Government of India recognition is basically give you some sort of, benchmarking, and you are in some sort of, label. Suppose many of you are doing for NABL accreditation. So that is also a standard. So here in DSIR R&D recognition for industry is a benchmarking which is being recognized by this country or abroad also. We have seen many R&D companies, many pharmaceutical companies, if they want to go for selling of their product in different countries, obviously they are required to be cleared by those countries' regulatory approval. But to get that regulatory approval of those countries like European Union or USA or other countries, regulated market. So first criteria is that they need to get this DSI recognition or Indian government recognition. Second thing is that if anybody wants to go for any international collaboration or in Indian collaboration even with many institutes, because many cases we have seen that they are getting technology from abroad, they are making some technological collaboration with abroad in institutes. So then first criteria is they want to get this, it is a DSI recognized R&D lab. So it is basically a prestige, it is basically a benchmarking, it is basically a, you can say is a status quo. Second thing is that if not all, but many funding agency, they have made it a criteria. So if they want to give any funding to grant to any industrial R&D center or industry, like DST-NSTEDB, CSIR, ICMR, ICR, TDB, even if environment science, I was saying MOE, all they need that your R&D center, I mean, industrial R&D center should be recognized with DSIR. Like, IGSTC, that in Indo-German Science and Technology Center. So they are also, I want to mean that international organization also, they have put this criteria that you have to recognize with DSIR. That means, So they also want to see that your facility should meet this criteria or benchmarking for industrial R&D centers, which is being recognized by DSIR. Apart from these two benefits, there are so many other benefits also. Like, earlier there was a specific fiscal incentives. It was 200% exemption. Suppose you are spending 100 rupees in R&D, you will get 200 rupees exemption for your tax. 200 rupees from your total tax amount. But nowadays that 200% to come down to 150, now it is 100%. So people can say that I am already spending that 100%. Then what is the need of this 100% write-off or revenue expenditure, capital expenditure? So the question is, now we had a several discussion with Ministry of Finance, and and also the income tax department. So later on we have seen that suppose you are purchasing an equipment, say for example the cost of that equipment is 100 rupees. You will not get exemption of 100 rupees in the same year if you do not get DSI recognition. What you can get? You can get the what is called that 10% of that equipment in many cases, which is basically I just forgot the terminology. Depreciation value. So only depreciation value you will get exemption from income tax. But if you have DSI recognition, whole 100% means that whole 100 rupees you can get exemption on that particular year. We know many companies, not very high-fi companies, very small companies, moderate companies, small and medium enterprises. So they are supposed taking around 5 crore single equipment or say 6 crore single equipment. So they want to get exemption in the same year. Otherwise, they are not been able to go ahead of R&D. So they need DSI recognition. Otherwise, they have to go say 10%, that is the depreciation based on depreciation value. Also, the same thing is also write-off of revenue expenditures. Weighted deduction for sponsored research programs. So if you give some sort of research fund to other institutes, so you'll get weighted deduction. Accelerated depreciation under Rule 5. Suppose a company like startups, they are always having technology-driven company, so they have their own technology, and if that technology is having with some patent, and if they want to go for scale up or maybe the commercial level, so whatever technology is being translated to their plan, so they will get accelerated depreciation under Rule 5. Whatever plant and machinery they will actually deploy there, on the basis of their depreciation, they will get accelerated depreciation. If depreciation is 10%, so they will go up to the 25% accelerated depreciation. There's another income tax act is called Rule 5.2. But in that case, the plant and machinery's cost will be under depreciation under Rule 5 if the same company's technology is being implemented or translated in his own plant. Why? How will be able to know that it is his own technology? They have to have some sort of patent certificate. So, and also if you get some sort of equipment from abroad, you know that all the equipments, there's a huge customs duty. Many equipments and many even raw materials. If you take this different raw materials, in case of I know that molecular biology raw materials is very costly, enzymes and other things. So that customs, many cases customs duty is more than 28%, 20%, 18%. All the customs duty will come down to 5% if you are recognized with DSIR. In some cases, even it is less than 5%. So also excise duty exemption. So that is also very huge. I mean, we know many companies having 700 crore R&D expenditure per year. They are taking more than 100 crore or 200 crore, giving external purchase, of which around 28% they are giving extra customs duty. So that 28% is going to 5% means you can understand that in crore how much benefit they are getting if they are recognized with DSIR. So these are the different benefits of DSIR recognition. Now I'm coming to the process flow. So if you go to the process flow, so first thing is that if you are meeting this eligibility criteria, you have to submit an application at DSIR, and that is actually a format available in our website, and only one single hard copy application with ink signed has to be submitted to DSIR. And before that, you have to read the DSIR guidelines also. When you are submitting to DSIR, suppose you are submitting, this is which month is going on? June. In the June, whatever application is coming from 1st June to 30th June, we are going for pre-screening. It is a secretarial meeting in the first week of July. So within 3rd, 4th or 7th July. So we'll see whether it is meeting with the regulatory criteria or guideline criteria or not. Suppose we need minimum 1000 square feet R&D lab. If it is 800 square feet, so it will not through this pre-screening or secretarial screening. So this type of basic criteria, if it does not fit, then we are actually screening out here. If it is screened in, then we send this, expert comments from the related department. There are 17, 18 departments are on panel. That departments experts are actually giving expert opinion on that. If it is related to some medical equipments, it will go to ICMR as well as DBT. If it is related to diagnostics, it will go to DBT and other some organization. If it is related to some pharmaceuticals, it will go to DOP, Department of Pharmaceuticals. So that way we get the comments from them, and then there is a discussion meeting. Discussion meeting will be with the company itself, 1:1, company and DSIR. So earlier it used to have physically, now we are making it completely online. So we are not requesting anybody to come to DSIR, and we generally avoid to personal meet in DSIR. And we actually give you proper meeting platform and date. And based on that, we go for discussion meeting. Around 1 hour we'll give to one company, one day. And it is coming out around 3rd week of that month. So June application, pre-screening done by 1st week of June, 2nd week of June, or maybe 3rd week of June, we go for the discussion. Generally, we go for 2nd week, June discussion complete. Around 30 or 25 applications are coming every month. So 3-4 days discussion complete lagatar chalta hai, and then after that we send it to independent expert, or maybe before that. And we feel that we are getting this expert opinion by 3rd week of July. And after getting this expert and based on discussion extracts, we make the actual agenda, and it will be present before a screening committee, high level screening committee, where more than 10-15 different experts are present, including interdepartmental experts. So this is being done every month or maybe bi-monthly. Because of this COVID, we are also doing it bi-monthly. Even if it is bi-monthly, each and every month applications will be one agenda. So we are not mixing this with that. So bi-monthly means there will be 2 agenda in one meeting. So this will be done generally in the last week of that month, July. And we after the meeting is being done, we go through this, minutes of that meeting. It is the 1st week of the next month, that is August. And by 2nd week of August, we generally issue the certificates, recognition and registration certificates. So if you see whole procedure, it takes around 2 to 3 months. Our timeline, total timeline is given in the citizen charters is 90 days. But before 90 days, around 60 or 75 days, we complete the whole matter. But provided this application should be a completed application. Wherever you are starting, that should be a complete application. In many cases, we see that there are 2 parts of the application, part A and part B. I will come to the application also. People have submitted part A, part B, they have not submitted. Or they have submitted only part B. Or maybe the application that they have submitted, they have forgot to sign even. So those will not considered under this timeline category, then it will take much more time. And in many cases, if we feel that there is a need of physical verification, because we are not getting confidence based on online discussion, and also we are not getting confidence on your paper submission. So there is a need of physical verification. So many cases we go for physically verified. Either we go or we take some local experts, and we take his opinion, her opinion, and then we put before the screening committee. In the screening committee also, they sometimes recommend that there is a need of physical verification. So accordingly, it being done. In a general case, general means which is clear in all the aspects, it takes around 2.5 months time maximum. So coming to the next criteria, that if you jot down all these things, eligibility criteria, I'm going to very quickly. So whatever I have told earlier, that companies should be registered under the Companies Act 1956 or 2013. And the companies shall be eligible for consideration only after the completion of 3 financial years. Please listen, 3 financial years. So if any company is incorporated in January of this month, so that year is also taken as 1 financial year, January to March, provided they have to come up with complete balance sheet of 3 years. Okay. Now the applicants should have regular source of income at least during the last 2 years. There should be some sort of regular income so that the company will be sustainable to sustain their business. So companies should be engaged in some manufacture or production or rendering technical service. Suppose they are not in manufacturing, but they will give technology to other companies or other vendors. So engaged in contract research is also as good as we take it as a company. So those who are in contract research, not contract manufacturing, we can also take it as granted for our DSIR recognition. So this is all what we are saying. This is the mandate, but there are certain exemptions also that I will come later. Now question is that R&D center should not be located in the residential area. So where it should be located? It should be located in some area which is authorized by relevant central or state government for doing that type of business. So suppose एक building है जिसमें second floor में residence है, third floor में residence है, basement में research चल रहा है, is not under. If you see our guidelines, everything is written there. So I've already told that square feet area, 1000 square feet is required, or 10-acre farm for agriculture thing. R&D unit should be located in a separate room or area. Generally, we take it as granted that it should be in a separate area. Separate means completely separate from any commercial activity as well as quality control activity. But nowadays, some people are coming in that fact that we have 4 floors. One floor we are doing R&D, other floors we are doing our manufacturing or quality control activity. It is also okay. Again, since it is a promotive schemes, people are saying that in the same floor, it is a 40,000 square feet floor, we're completely segregated 2,000 square feet in one side, and that is also access control entry, and nobody is coming that side. It is completely segregated, it's far away from quality control, and it is also, we take it case to case basis, but we are in a promotive mode in this respect. In many cases, we have seen that they have done the building and they are saying कि हमारा application तो कर दिया, जब हमें मिल जाएगा then we will start our activity. It's not that. It is written in the guideline. It should be a functional R&D center. Functional means it will be completely in action, as well as it has had some sort of achievement also. That some achievement has come. That means if you start your R&D for the last 3 years, I think you will be able to come out with some deliverables. So that deliverables is needed. So DSIR will certify, recognize a company, R&D center. So it should be some sort of label, because it will make having some sort of benchmarking. Application one set hard copy duly signed by managing director of the company or any of the director who are in the board. They have to sign, and it has to be sent to head RDI and this address. So many times we have seen that application is signed by some financial head, application is being signed by some R&D head. It's not, because some of the director in the board or managing director has to sign. Apart from that, I should ask one question, that is it okay? I mean, it is audible and it is understandable, or I should be slow?
No, I think that's fine. I think let's go ahead, please.
Okay. So these are the things in general, but now I'm coming to some biotech startups. So we made some relaxation for biotech startups, understanding the fact that startups may not be able to fulfill all those criteria, especially biotech, because biotech startups, transition time is very, very high. I mean, to come out with a deliverable product, it needs a lot of time. So we have done one relaxation. DSIR has announced relaxation of 3 years, 3 financial years. So we are not saying anything that how much years are required, but relax 3 years. We can case to case basis, we can make it 1 year, we can make it 2 years, and in many cases we cannot say also. So generally after 1 year, you can apply if you are biotech startup, provided you are in some incubation facility or technology park. Because if you are in incubation facility or you are in technology park, we automatically will get a level of confidence that you are in some sort of sustainable area. So you cannot vanish within a day. You are in a very, very supportive system. So in this case, what we think that you have to send first few points, like what is the name of the company, which is given here. That what is the name of the company, what is the PAN number, what is your registration number and date of incorporation under Companies Act. So Companies Act registration is same, complete address of the R&D unit, brief write-up on ongoing research activities and achievements. We see much more importance on this. We give much more importance on achievements. If a company, if a startup, biotech startup, suppose in venture center, having some patent and having a clear-cut ongoing research activities and programs for future, and also having some sort of good funds, proposed sources of funding and revenue, we generally consider them. So you have to inform first these 5 points, and if we see it is okay, we'll tell you it is through mail only. You can send mail to me or you can send mail to Dr. T.K. Datta, who is the head of this division. So any of them actually tell you. Basically, you have to send it to me, because even if you send it to Dr. Datta, he will send it to me. So then we'll say that after seeing all these things, if you have some sort of such achievements, so we can say yes, you can go ahead. So then you can apply under our main form. But in main form, you have to mention somewhere that it is a biotech startup and you are in some incubation facilities, name of that incubation facility. And you have to give some other documents along with that. So for those biotech startups, there are certain different things like, you have to have some IP, and either you have some certificate or at least you have submitted some patent application. Second thing is that your manpower and basic R&D infrastructure you have to give. In many cases, we see that 100% infrastructure you are using incubation facility. So that is also not acceptable. You have to have some basic minimum facilities which is repeatedly used every time you are using. And also you have to give other instrument facilities which have an agreement with your incubation center that you can use on rent basis, time to time basis. So that means if you talk about a product or if you talk about R&D total program flow, all the equipments you are getting it either from your side or from incubation side. Then you have to submit that collaboration agreement and MOU with technology park or incubation center also. And also we want to see that what is your business model, that you have a clear-cut vision of getting fund or getting commercial revenue maybe 5 years down the line. So you have a very good model or plan of work so that it is a very clear-cut sustainability we can able to see from your plan model. And the last one is that we are also will be confident if you have a lot number of projects from different funding agency, or there are certain funds where there is no need of DSIR recognition, or maybe you have submitted. Many cases we have seen that BIRAC is approved their funds subject to DSIR recognition. So that will also give higher priority to us. We'll also, if you see that you are in that stage, or IGSTC or some other funding agency, so we'll also try in a supportive mode, in a quick mode. So these are the things for specific to the biotech startups who are in any incubation facility. So the checklist for when you want to submit this DSIR recognition, you have to see that it should be signed by managing director or director of the company. Then a CD, walk-in CD for your corporate presentation, R&D presentation should be there. Latest annual report, because you want to see that balance sheet, 3 years balance sheet. Brief write-up, scientific personal. So all these things are already in the format. So you have to fill up the format properly. It's not that some portion not applicable. In the address, we have seen some cases not applicable. So it is not like that. So if you fill up the form properly, only thing is that it has to be signed by the managing director of the company. So this is all about today's presentation. Now we can break for 2-3 minutes. Then I can also show you the format itself. 2-3 minutes if you have any questions. Premnath sir, if you wish, we can do some 5 minutes question answer for this presentation. Then we'll go for the format.
Okay, great. I think that's good. Just 1 minute. I'll also switch on my light.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's a good overview. We'll get started with a few questions and then we can take it ahead from there, right? So Shoma and I've been compiling a few questions. By the way, first of all, the standard links which are there from your website, we have put it on the chat box so that people can take from there. And also your contact information is available on the website, in the DSIR website as well, right? So that is also there in the chat box if people want to communicate. Okay, now over to the questions. First thing about a little bit about eligibility. I think you have clarified very clearly that it has to be the Companies Act, right? LLP is not okay. It comes under a different act, right? So that's clear, right? I mean, that's definite, because there are 2-3 other questions on LLP. So I just want to reinforce that. The other thing you clarified was that contract research organizations who are also registered under the Companies Act can apply, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And there was also a question on whether they should apply and so on. That is a matter of whether they want to benefit from the benefits you have listed. Am I right? It's not compulsory for anybody to apply. It is if they want the benefits and the recognition and the status that goes with it, they can apply as well, right? So
yes, there are lakhs of companies are there in this country. Around 4,000 they have recognized with DSIR, and at present this figure is around 3,000.
Okay.
So they can apply, they may not apply. That is their wish.
Now, as far as CROs are concerned, they are also carrying out research itself is their commercial operation. Just like say a manufacturing company, there'll be production, QC, and R&D. Here, CROs R&D is R&D. I mean, that's the main function. So, is that okay?
So there are some small, if you see very critically, there are some level of segregation should be there. How? When CRO is getting some sort of, order or demand from some company, so first level they have to do some research. So that research, after that they are giving some technology or maybe some sort of volume of product. But if they do the same activity repeatedly, so then it will be termed as a commercial activity. So that facilities they have to be segregated. So there should be some level of segregation.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is useful.
First time when they are doing that activity, they need to do a lot of research because they are starting from zero. But once they have done, they're coming out with a particular protocol or SOP or maybe the technology. So after that, if they repeat that same thing, so it will also go to the commercial activity.
Okay, I think that answers that question. Okay, I just want to come to the benefits a little bit. So in the benefits, the first one, which is the one which you mentioned, of course, is weighted tax deduction. So if people have one of the rules is that they should be accounting for their R&D separately and reporting it in their financial statements as R&D expenses, correct? That is something which is what we look at.
There are two places in the balance sheet. One is that schedule, another is notes of account.
Yeah.
So either it should be in the schedule, different schedule, or maybe in different notes of account as an R&D expenditure.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something which we have also been telling our mentees that if their work, whatever research work they're doing, they should account for it separately and show that in the notes as well. When you said about tax deduction for sponsored research programs, if it is say a startup, it is the sponsored research program that they are paying for, right, in a research organization, right?
Yes.
So that is what you're talking about. Suppose they go and engage some research activities in another entity, they can use that, you can show a deduction for that, right? Okay. Now, as far as the write-off is concerned, that would kick in if they are profit making and they want to write off those. No, where does the write-off actually help? I wasn't very clear about that.
Yeah, can you repeat once again?
The 100% write-off of revenue expenditure and capital expenditure on R&D, right?
That I wanted to mean that in the same year, you can get that exemption on tax.
Achha. Okay. I think that's definitely something which is useful. One of the most useful things is the customs and central excise duty exemptions. customs for many of the imported equipment and so on and so forth. Are there any restrictions associated with that? And also sometimes, there's a little bit of a gray area between R&D equipment and QC equipment. What do we do about that? And how does
So
DSIR
first thing is that first criteria is that they have to get this registration certificate of DSIR. After that, the head of the institute will actually certify. It is very, very well mentioned by you that the same equipment may be used for QC, may be used for quality R&D. So that certificate has to be given by the head of the institute. That means managing director. That is you can say that is a trust that it will be used for R&D purposes only. And then it will be housed in R&D purposes. It will be reported to DSIR again. These are the equipments of R&D with their batch number and everything. So that is the criteria.
Okay. So let me move to another.
There are possibilities, sir. There are possibilities, that's why we are getting a large number of complaints also from the customs. That's not the equipment, but also some raw materials, biotechnology raw materials. They're taking it as R&D, but they're using for commercial purposes. So we are also trying to check those things also in different levels, and customs are also doing. So it is a continuously happening, is a ecosystem. Institutional head, R&D head, as well as MD of that company, we and customs are actually making a vigilance on that.
Okay. So before I go to the next part, just coming back to the registrations, there's a question that if a company converts from, say, a from an LLP to a private limited company, would you consider the accounts of the previous LLP in your consideration?
See, this is a very good question. Who has actually asked this question? See, I'm telling you, not only LLP, but also proprietorship company, partnership company, if they are converted, kindly, I am repeating once again, if they are converted to private limited, this is a Companies Act. Please try to understand that if it is a conversion, the format is also different. URC 46 is the conversion form. So in that conversion form, all the liabilities, assets, your balance sheet, everything will be converted to the new company. Okay. So then it will be considered for DSI recognition also. I am getting one queries here. LLP companies are registered under Companies Act only. Not Companies Act 2013 and 1956 is not.
Yeah. No, I think that's the wrong thing. So I didn't take that up intentionally.
But if it is a conversion, conversion means whole assets, whole liabilities, whole R&D activities, whole business activities will be converted, and their balance sheet is a Companies Act says that the balance sheet also will be taken as a continuation. In that case, DSIR actually recognize, accept their application even immediately after the conversion.
Okay. So I'll just move on to space and related issues. So there are some questions relating to that. The first one, of course, is what if you're incubated in an incubator? And that, of course, you have addressed as well, that in case of biotech, I think you have addressed that they should be in an incubator if they are, not yet having their own facilities or within those 3 years and so on. What about other sectors?
See, basically biotech sector, if you start a R&D, you need a huge facility altogether. Yeah, so that's why this facility started by the then Secretary said. But for other sectors, suppose you take a manufacturing sector, right? Yeah. So there is many companies, even 30 to 40% companies, they have a very good design facility. So they don't have any fabrication facility and not required also. If their design is mainly R&D, so they have a design facility. You kindly believe it that for design facility, there is no requirement of huge investment. Some computers, some design softwares is sufficient for that, 1 or 2 employee or 4 employee. Now the full profile they are giving to some outsourcing agency, getting the components done, and then assembling in their center. And again, for validation, sometimes they are going to outside or maybe inside. So in this case, actually, there is no need of huge facility. So through this incubation facility, we are helping biotechnology sector because biotechnology needs a lot of equipment, lot of infrastructure to do some little bit R&D also. That's why this facility. So as of now, other sectors, we are not thinking for that.
Yeah, so there is also this question that, since people will be at an incubation center temporarily, what happens when they graduate out and what happens to the DSIR status? And after they do that, what would be the process they have to follow?
It will continue, no? The recognition will continue, and whenever they are graduated from incubation facility, we believe that he is actually adult enough to sustain. The question of incubation facility actually to give a support system for their sustainability. So now they are going out means they are automatically sustainable at that point of time. So our recognition will continue. We'll appreciate for that. It will continue.
Yeah, but if there's also another situation where they were previously with an incubator, now they are out. They did not apply for DSI recognition when they were in the incubator. Can they, if they apply now, will you treat them with, little more consideration because of the fact that they were in an incubator before?
No, because then they will be treated as the other company, and if they are having that much of credential, then only they will be able to get. Rather, we will think that once they are recognized, so it is a lapse from their side. So it is an, will not take it in a very right spirit, but
Okay.
they will be treated as a general company then.
Okay. If the in an incubator, they have, usually most incubators have limited space. So usually they have a small space, where they are doing their R&D, and maybe they will do a little bit of commercial activity in another corner of the room. How do they deal with such things? How is DSIR recognition? How will you look at it when you look at such facilities? Of course, keep in mind that the incubator will have its own central facilities also separately, which will be available to them.
Now, for incubation, some companies who are in incubation facility, we are not bothering about 1,000 square feet for them also.
Okay.
So what we see, please, I am repeating this thing very categorically for the incubators. Suppose they are having 400 square feet, 200 square feet even. So in agreement, we want to see that 200 space is also is agreed. Is an agreement with your incubation. Number one. Number two, the common facility what you have also agreed to them to use, that should be suppose 800 square feet. So we can take it as granted. That's this 200 plus 800 means 1,000 square feet is of his use. So that we can take it as granted. But the second question, that commercial activity, that we have to see case to case basis. That suppose out of his whole 100% activity, we can see that around 80% he's doing commercial activity from that center. Then we have to understand very clearly case to case basis.
Okay. Is there any process by which there's any fast tracking for any startups which are located in, say, Atal incubation centers or DST or DBT supported incubation centers? Is there any mechanism to do that? And the second is also some places there are CSIROs which are hosting some companies. They may not be formal incubators, but they may be programs, incubation programs. What happens in that case? So the first question is about fast tracking for incubation centers, recognized incubation centers.
That we have to again see that there are silos, but from somewhere, even not even government incubation facility, but there are some state incubation facilities also.
Yeah.
If you go to Chennai, there is a women incubation facility. In other IKP Knowledge Park, this is a private basically, but that will also be treated as same incubation facility because they are getting that support from them also. But if you talk about I didn't follow you that fast track, you tell something.
So
fast track.
What I meant is, suppose there's a startup which is located in a Atal incubation center, right, which the government has approved, or a DST approved incubation center, or a BIRAC approved.
There is no such separate spirit to us. Our spirit is situated in some incubation facility. And also we have a spirit because we have a very good list of different incubation facilities of this country, that who are doing very good, who are doing very bad in respect of support system. So, but that is a subjective matter. Basic thing is that they have to have in some incubation facility. That's all.
Okay. A couple of things about space again. One is, if companies have their R&D center in another state versus say the manufacturing in another state, Does that have any issues?
No, not at all. Because some companies like Reddy Laboratory, they're having 7 R&D centers in different places. So there's no issue on that. They're having say, 8, 9, 10 manufacturing center in different states. No issue. So, if one we recognize R&D centers only.
Yeah. Regarding accounting, just wanted to check up about a few points. Many cases, the startup company, the entire activity is R&D itself, right? So it includes all kinds of expenses, right? So it may even include the founder's expenses and so on. So does that all qualify as expenses which can be categorized as R&D expenses?
Of course, if any company is doing 100% R&D, their whole expenditure will be treated as R&D. But you have mentioned few minutes back that some sort of expenditure they're doing, some sort of developing some manufacturing products.
Yeah,
we know many startups companies that they are doing some sort of electronic equipment. So they are doing R&D and they are also making manufacturing. Okay, not in startup and not in incubation facility, but they are startup. So from the same facility they are doing. So the expenditure what is going on for getting components for their commercial prototype as well as their R&D prototype. So then they have to make segregation. But if you clarify that they are doing 100% R&D as of now, not a single amount they're getting for their commercial products. So then we can treat it as R&D expenditure.
Okay. In the for any kind of startups which are like biotech startups applying, you had advised that they should write to you first and then they can continue the application, right? Is that the process includes that? I mean, they should wait for an okay from you, is it, before continuing with the application? That's what you're suggesting.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, so that is a requirement.
What is the timeline for receiving that permission?
What is the timeline?
Yeah, it's a permission. They have to first take a permission, right, to apply as a biotech startup. So
I have told you that it is actually they have to reply it. They have to send it through mail, and the reply is within a week, if not within 24 hours.
Actually, we have had some queries from our startups that they haven't been receiving it for quite some time. So that's why they were wondering.
Then they have not. They have not sent in the proper place.
Okay.
So my email ID is in the website. If they send it to me, we generally reply it by 1 week. That should be in mail. Again and again, I'm telling you, mail, not hard copy.
Yeah, email. Okay. Yeah. So what they're talking is send it by email, and by the way, DSIR, the entire process, they are required to finish it in 90 days as long as your papers are okay, right? So
yes,
yeah, the problem sometimes is that the papers are not in order and it takes several iterations to get to that point.
Yes, okay. That is true.
Yeah. So, and this is their mandate. So they're supposed to do it in 90 days. That's a requirement.
In fact, unlike other plan and program of different departments, we actually try our level best to clear it within minimum time.
Okay. So in the R&D expenses, if people have not sort of booked their cost as R&D expenses to date, as separate R&D expenses and shown it in notes to accounts, is there any solution? Can they provide any alternative, or it is that they have to do now and wait?
Actually, this reply I should not give now because it is recorded.
Yeah.
But obviously, we are in a supportive, scheme. Okay. There are certain things are there. So if anybody will apply, so case to case basis, we can also.
So the committee will want to support companies, startups as much as possible. So
as a whole, the scheme is to support Indian industries.
Yeah. So
support and promote.
Yeah. So I think that covers that part of the question. Now, as far as space is concerned, I think you have covered also a lot of ground in terms of where it could be incubated. About manpower, is there any number limit eligible for manpower? How do we structure the manpower as a startup such that it is, suitable for DSIR recognition?
In fact, rather I want to request, or I want to ask to the startups also that how much manpower they need to do some sort of good quantum of work. So there should be, for startup, there should be some minimum manpower, and for other companies also there should be some minimum manpower. So this is a subjective decision. But generally, we have seen our experiences around 4 to 7, manpowers, at least for good startups and very low level startups are also eligible. I mean, but for the companies who are very much, based on turnover, good turnover, more touching about 100 crore turnover minimum. So we expect, as a proportionate of around 1% of that expenditure should go to the 1 to 4% should go to the R&D expenditure, and around 7 to 10 people should be in R&D. So that is a subjectivity, but some minimum, like 4 to 7 people should be there for startups I'm talking about.
Okay, so I think at this point I'll stop and give it back to you so that you can talk through the application. We'll come back with more questions. There are more.
One specific question has come, that is OPC. See, 1% companies, I'm telling you, that actually registered under Companies Registration Act 2013. Earlier, that's why it was OPC is also under Companies Registration Act and it is eligible. Yes.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Coming to the next, I just want to give glimpse on the format itself so that they will be able to understand what to write, how to write.
Sure, please do.
Is it visible format?
Yeah.
So whenever this is the format, actually you will get it in our website. So there are two parts. Part A is basically corporate information and part B is R&D center information. Very quickly, I'm scrolling it. So if you see that whether application is for fresh or renewal, the same format will be used for renewal also. So generally the recognition is being given for 2 to 3 years. In many cases, it is 2 years and the maximum 3 years. So after 3 years, at least before completion of 3 years or 2 years, they have to again apply for renewal. So if it is a renewal application, then they have to write here yes and recognition number. That means what they have got during the fresh recognition. Just 1 minute.
So while Dr. Banerjee is coming back, I just want to point out that there are some questions coming up which I'm not taking up because they're not relevant. So for example, NABL has nothing to do with this DSIR. So that you go to the NABL site. Okay, that's a different matter. There's also some questions about R&D institutions or research organizations. Those, as Dr. Banerjee said, come under slightly different categories. So if you're a not-for-profit private R&D organization, you will go for the CSIRO recognition. If you are a publicly funded institution like the IITs or established under the Act, you will probably go under the PIRF, I think that the PFRI that Dr. Banerjee mentioned. Okay?
Public funded research institutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and universities and so on and so forth, depending upon their category, will go under CSIRO or PFRI, depending upon which category they fall under, right? Startups and this what we are talking today is about for private for-profit entities registered under the Companies Act. Okay. So that I'm leaving out for them. Sorry, I just took a couple of questions while you were away. Please go ahead.
So in many cases, we have seen that in fresh, suppose you are applying first time. So fresh recognition, you have to write yes. But you are applying for renewal, then you have to write yes and recognition number in case of renewal. That is first recognition number. Generally, one number is being given from DSIR. That is your industry's R&D center recognized number by DSIR that has to be written. But in many cases, we have seen fresh recognition, they're writing no, not applicable. And they're actually applying for fresh, that they're writing recognition number that actually their company incorporation number. So these are the wrong application. Then a permanent account number, company registration number will come here. Brief history of the company. So that is about what type of activity you are doing. So the applications would be very, very, small and very crisp in nature. Brief history में basically company कई बार हम लोग देखा कि they are writing 3-4 pages in the history, and history does not require. How you have actually incorporated this company? What is the actually line of activity of your company? head office, registered office, factory, correspondence address, R&D laboratory recognized. If anything recognized, then address. If not recognized, then also you have to give that address. Many companies having suppose 4 recognized center, they're applying for 5th one. So they will write all the centers name. Company structure, if you see private, public, cooperative, joint sector, proprietary, partnership, 100% export oriented unit, whatever you are having, you can write. That doesn't mean that you are eligible. If we see that it is a cooperative, so we'll write that it is not eligible. Any foreign equity participation. So foreign equity participation, there are many companies you have to write. If it is 100%, that is also okay. There is no problem in it, but it has to be incorporated in India. It should be an Indian company. So if you see that name of the directors in the board, so any of them has to sign in the final page of the application. Name of the NRI. I'm not going in this. Authorized capital, paid up capital is these are the values when you have incorporated the company. You have also filled up category of the firm, administrative ministry concern. So suppose you are doing some biotechnology research. Basically, you are concerned is at the biotechnology ministry of Department of Biotechnology. That means Ministry of Science and Technology. If you are related to automobile industry, so you are to Ministry of Automobile. So that way you have to write technical collaboration, foreign and Indian. If you have to write annual turnover of the company. You have to write what are the main products manufactured. If company is having no products as of now, so don't write anything. Kindly note that all of you are basically from startups, means is a technology driven idea you have. So whatever prototype you are developing, what are the R&D output is coming out, that's not the product. We are talking about your final product. Actually, if you see that installed capacity of the plant, yearly production. So that means we try to understand for the big companies and other companies who are in manufacturing, what is their level of manufacturing. That means it gives some impact of that company in respect of sustainability. And then it is coming places of manufacturing. Then you see total manpower employed by the firm. First one, if you see scientific and technical manpower. Second is administrative, third one is other, and this is total. Many cases we have seen in part B also there is a table about your R&D manpower. Many cases we have seen that R&D manpower total number is more than total number employed by the firm. This is actually total number of the company. So here total number, many cases we have seen less than what they are reflecting in the R&D manpower. So that means it is a wrong. R&D expenditure we generally take from here part A as also part B. Why? Because part B is basically restricting to particular one R&D center's information. A company is having 7 R&D center, 5 R&D center, but they are applying for 6 R&D center. So in part B, they will give only the 6th information. But here in table number 14, they will give total R&D expenditure or R&D figure of the company of all 7 R&D center or 6 R&D centers. Okay. So if one R&D center, they are applying, so many cases we have seen that, then in that case, this table number 14 information and part B table information should be exactly similar, but that sometimes differs. So we came to know that many times people are using, some sort of, figure which is not correct. Now coming to the part B. Part B is to that R&D center which are actually they are applying for DSIR recognition. So if you have more than one, don't write anything about that more than one which is already recognized. What you are applying, that you are like. Location, unit name. In many cases, people are writing some name of that R&D unit. Is the R&D unit has already been recognized with DSIR? If yes, then any of the R&D centers are recognized agar hai, so then you have to write these things. Also, if this format is for renewal, then you have to write these things. Otherwise not. So if renewal, then changes if any. If renewal, it's not renewal, it's a fresh application, then 3 is basically all will be not applicable. Present status of R&D projects, date of commencement of your R&D work in case of fresh recognition, main objectives of your R&D program. I believe that these are the points where you can easily put. Wherever you feel that it is a confusion, you can tell me to stop. R&D unit details, layout plan. Layout plan means total plan and where your R&D is located there. Even if it is a, this is incubation facility, you can make a layout plan of that building and where you are located. Approximate floor area. So here for startups who are in incubation facility, they have to write that your own rent unit, say for example, 200 square feet and common area used as per agreement from incubation facility 800 square feet. So both are coming about 1000 square feet. Photographs, separate account maintains for R&D expenditure. You have to write yes here. I mean, it has to be yes. Are the R&D activities separate from production quality control? It should be yes. I mean, otherwise it is not a problem. Details of environmental clearance. I have told you that if some company related to environmental pollution, so there is a need of environmental clearance certificate. In case of incubation facility, actually all this taken care by incubating. So that is also eligible for them. DCGI approval in case of products which are related to clinical trials. Now coming to the detail of R&D equipments, if you see that value of indigenous equipment, value of imported equipment, total value, value of pilot plant, and gross cumulative value of quality control and testing facility. So if it is a proper company, then they should have some equipment on quality control and testing. So that should be different figure from R&D figure. Now, many cases we have seen, suppose if you see major R&D equipment, I'm coming later, major R&D equipment available. Now there should be R&D director or R&D head also. His designation, qualification is important. Now you see new products developed, new process developed, improvement in existing process, energy conservation in the process itself, pollution control, if there is anything, how you are making it that. Import substitution, suppose you are coming up with a prototype which is actually going to be a product and which will make import substitution. That is very, very important for us. So any symposia or seminar attended, number of papers, number of persons who attended R&D training, patents filed. 12 number is very important for us. Any technologies developed by the company has been commercialized, exported, or other parties, sold to other parties. Now give particulars of the R&D projects. So there are details of it, title of the project, scope of the projects, expenditure, and also the next 3 years. We have given only one 15 number one table, 14 number one table, but if you have more than one project, you have to replicate of this table. Any imports affected for R&D purposes. If you have taken any import, any equipment, any raw material. Now there is details R&D expenditure, past 3 years, current year, and next 3 years. If the company has started only 1 year, so accordingly will give no problem. Now the question is, suppose here, if you see capital expenditure, so this last 3 years capital expenditure, these 3 will be same as whatever you are reflecting here. If we add this all capital expenditure of last 3 years, if you see, or last 5 years total will be cumulative here, it will come under here. Value of indigenous R&D equipment, value is imported, and value of total. So D number, cumulative value of all R&D assets, this value will match with total R&D expenditure capital he was giving in different tables. Here also in the part A. So many times we are seeing that these figures are not matching each other. Now income tax rebate, if you have taken anything, details of grants that will be important for startup if you have got from any agency. Sales turnover attributable to commercialization of R&D products. Your R&D is going to the sales, and what is the percentage of that sales, total sales, that is much more important for us. Then manpower, educational qualification of that R&D manpower. And we have categorically written if you have taken any know-how from NRDC or some national laboratories. And also if you see the 23, see, do you have any necessity collaborative R&D efforts for projects with CSIR or any other national laboratories? If there is something, it will keep much more, impetus. So now last, to be signed by MD or chief executive or head of the organizations. Actually, don't see that chief executive. If you go to guideline, earlier somebody has written that now we are talking about MD or director or any of the board member. Okay, so this is actually total format. Now here, anywhere, if you have a problem, you can ask me.
Yeah, Dr. Banerjee, there is also sometimes a requirement for a walk-in video or a slideshow
Yes.
of your facility, right? Can you?
To be
comment on
honestly
that?
speaking, nowadays what we are seeing, if anybody has to submit the application first,
Yeah.
then actually I have told that there is a pre-screening. So if the eligibility criteria is matching, then we'll go for the second level, that meeting with the industry, that is called the discussion meeting. Before that, we generally want to take a working video. Not required that first time with application, there is no need of working video, although it is written everywhere. Since today I am actually saying very closely, I am saying that there is no need.
Okay. So anyway, it's not a big deal. I think it's easy to make that just with a simple video camera, and also or put together a bunch of pictures in PPT and convert it to a video, right? That also works. You just want to see the facility.
That also works. What happened whenever we go for secretarial discussion, internal discussion, if the video is there, we get some sort of confidence. But that doesn't make any difference, because anyway we'll go for discussion meeting if other minimum eligibility criteria fulfilled.
Yeah. For biotech companies, if they are seeking renewal, do they have to write an email to you also to get prior approval before submitting?
Should I stop here?
Yeah, please. You can stop. Yeah, okay.
So no, for renewal, actually, it is other way around. From our department, actually, we give a letter to all the companies who are registered or recognized with us, that you please submit your application for renewal. Generally, the recognition is giving up to March of some year. Suppose if 2020 we are giving a recognition, we generally give 3 years. In some cases, we give 2 years, 1 year lesser. So that means it will go to 23rd March 23. So 22 December or October or November, the letter will go from DSIR, or maybe some notification will be in the DSIR side that you please apply at least 3 months before. And it is already written in our website. So before completion of your recognition tenure, at least 3 months before, you should apply. There is no need of separate permission for that. Okay. Once recognized, it will be treated as general company.
Okay. And if people are moving, say, from an incubator or within an incubator to different locations or whatever it is, do they need to intimate you? What is the process?
No, not at all. They need to intimate because of their address is changing.
Yeah.
Yes, they need to inform us, and they need to change their location, R&D location also.
Yeah. And when you ask for address in the form, that is your R&D center's location address, right? Not the registered address of the company. Or
no. We recognize there are all addresses we take in the part A, but in part B, very specific R&D center address, because we recognize R&D center address only. So if the company, this is a very good question. If a company is recognized, incubated in venture center, so I believe that you give some sort of differential address, like all the companies cannot use one address, venture center address. I think that room number 202, room number 203 of block this. So this type of segregation should be there, and they have to use that address.
Okay. And if they are moving out of the incubator to their own facility, how do you recommend they should? What should they do?
None.
Should they?
That is also there. that is also there in the, there is certain, first they have to write to DSIR, or they can write with some documents. So whenever the moment they are shifting to other location, so there is a chartered engineer certificate is required that their R&D center has been shifted from this location to that location with all activities, infrastructure, as well as manpower.
Yeah. Okay. There are some other, I'm now taking some random questions, not very cohesive, but basically there are questions which relate to accounting, where say when the company is very young and they're only focused on technology development, their entire costs may come as R&D expenses, right? Because they'll be spending only on R&D and tech development. And that is not uncommon. So I suppose they should just, they will need to just have one question was of whether they need a separate book of accounts. They don't. It's only classified as R&D expenses, right?
In the books of accounts, they have to write that this much of expenditure 100% is for R&D.
Yeah. Okay. Shoma, do you have any questions while I pull out some more?
I think it is related to the incubation center applying for a DSIR recognition. They were asking that the startup, the projects that the startups are working, can the incubation centers mention those as their R&D activity? Which I think it may not be possible, but yeah, your comments.
No, there are, I think Dr. Premnath is well aware of that, but because once upon a time that incubation centers are also trying, because you are registered under Society Registration Act, right? Or
yeah,
company.
Either society or Section 8 or
because
trust.
I know some incubation are Section 25, which is actually now Section 25 or maybe society. Yeah. So Dr. Premnath, you can recall that once upon a time, ITP Knowledge Park, madam, you, all of you are trying to do that thing, but you should have separate line of R&D program. Then only it is possible, which is not the mandate of incubation center.
Yeah,
and
that depends on the incubation center also. If they have a separate line of R&D, they can show
then it is okay. They can
in which case they come under CSIRO, right? Not under unless they are for profit entity, right?
But if any in technology park, private technology park, if they are coming under the Companies Registration Act, they can do that, no problem. Okay. Yes, otherwise it will be under CSIRO.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that covers that question.
That we can discuss later on also.
Yeah. Shoma, any other questions?
So one another question is that, somebody is asking, are you planning to add any more benefits to that DSIR recognition in the future?
What type of benefits actually? Tell us.
Maybe we can ask them to put together something and reach out to you.
No, I think it's also a matter of the government deciding that, right? In terms of finance ministry and the budgets and so on and so forth, I presume, right, Dr. Banerjee?
Yes, actually, DSIR has some. I told in the during my first 5 minutes talk that every department has a business allocation. So in that business allocation, something is coming out. Yes, DSIR is always thinking some sort of industry relevant benefit or talk or some sort of schemes. If government thinks, you have rightly pointed out, definitely DSIR will also think time to time. Yes.
Okay. Is there a way, if people have applied already, is there a way that they can get some inputs on where their application is at this stage?
Status. Yeah. So that's a different from other department. It's a basically, that it's a, I can say that's a, not like other projects or something. Yeah. It's a regulatory type of thing, right? Yeah. It is also to understand the status is also means for some sort of canvassing. Rather, it is other way around. DSIR gives time to time information through mail to the applicant. Because I am telling you, everything will be completed by 2.5 months. Very soon we are coming up with the thing, the online thing. So in online thing, actually, they will be able to know some level of status. By any means, if they want to know, they can write to 2 mails, which is already in the website. That is, one mail is mine mail. So they may know the status. Otherwise, there is no such mechanisms that department will tell them, like income tax, like DCGI approval. Yeah, they are not allowed to know the status in every point of time. But yes, after a particular steps, they will automatically know through our mail. I'm telling you, the discussion meeting, they will be informed through mail. Okay.
Yeah, there are some questions relating to how people use those benefits. So I think it's worth informing people, because otherwise they might confuse it. See, suppose you are importing something and there is a duty involved. The customs guys would need to, your clearing agent will need your document which shows that you're a DSIR recognized entity and therefore certain duties are lesser, right? So it is invoked at that time. You can't do it later saying that, give me a refund, right? That I don't think works, right? Or for a past year. You can't do it for the past year, right?
The past year not possible. Past year not possible. But there is a facility like, suppose you are recognized with DSIR.
Yeah.
Now you have applied for renewal. Your March is over, but you have not got the renewal certificate. Renewal you will get with effect from the effective date, that is 1st April, but you have not get it in your hand. And during that period of time, some sort of, your import is going on. So in that case, actually, you have to pay money to the customs officer, but the moment you will get renewal certificate, I repeat, renewal, not fresh, renewal, because renewal is continuation of your recognition. The moment you will get that certificate, you can submit it to customs department, and there is a possibility, there is a scope, there is a clause that you will get it refund. But for new applicant, no, it is not any, from prior period.
Yeah. So when people are purchasing something and they want to use these benefits, do they have to place the order from their R&D site address, or can they put it as a company purchase, right?
From company purchase, but it should be written in their every papers that it is for R&D purpose. You will be used for R&D purposes only.
Yeah. So even though the site which has got approval in your from DSIR might be a location which is different from the registered address of the company.
Generally, registration address are always different,
Yeah.
Many companies, they have registered from a small building. After that, they are big company. Now they have shifted. Their different locations are there. So our recognition doesn't make any sense with the registration address.
Yeah.
Our recognition is specifically to R&D address. I'm giving an example. Suppose a company got exemption under customs, say for example, 10 crore rupees, say for example. Now the customs will do the rate to the address of R&D center, which is put in the recognition or registration letter, whether that equipment is being housed in that address or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So when they are, say, placing the order for an equipment, that can be on any address, right? Because what I mean is the R&D address may not be the, see, on the letterhead when you place a purchase order, that address may reflect the registered address, not the R&D center address.
A registered letterhead address may be anything, either registered address or their corresponding address, I'm telling you now, or their head office address. Yeah. But in the order, it should be written that the machine will be installed or supplied to the R&D center at then R&D center address, and the machine will be used for R&D purposes only.
Yes, I think that is very clear as well. So now, as far as regulatory clearances are concerned, you had mentioned the site clearances. So in those cases, when companies are moving out into a different location, they just need to make sure that they have all the regulatory clearances for that new site, right?
Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, they will not get in company incorporation also. They have to inform to Companies Acts also. I mean, companies also, incorporation, changing of location, they have to inform to the register of companies also.
Okay. A final few things, like when you say R&D achievements or outputs, right? It could probably be patents, papers, conference presentations, maybe a product which is visible, a prototype, some things like that, right? Anything else which you want to add to outputs and achievements?
We are much more,
maybe awards.
We generally give the two questions. One is startup, one is general company. For general company, we are much more comfortable to see some product is being taken by some other company. I mean, through some order, some specific order they are getting for product, which is actually claimed by their product by other company, other stakeholders. And for startups, generally, we see some sort of, technology related output, right? Patent or maybe technology translation or technology licensing to other company, that type of thing we want to see, if not a product.
Yeah. And in your application form, there's a question about expenses. Would laboratory furniture and all that qualify under expenses, right? In the investment, infrastructure, equipment.
If it is used for R&D again. If it is used for R&D.
Yeah. So
yes,
that can be shown under, I suppose, your category of equipment, machinery, or whatever, what suitable category. How will
actually
you
it will not come under equipment. They can write under capital, but not under equipment. So even a building will come under capital, but not under equipment. Equipment will be one part of the capital.
Okay. In the case of patents and so on and so forth, if an organization has a license from a research organization to operate their business, that will sort of support their case that it's a research-based entity, isn't it?
Can you repeat once again?
If the startup has a license, they don't have their own patents, but they have a license to a patent from a research organization.
That's true, but they are also, but they are also going to do some sort of, further development on it, right?
Yes, yes. So they may have, say, projects, say BIRAC supported project.
It is okay. It is okay. It is okay, because I believe that as long they are doing some sort of, development, maybe a scale up or maybe industrial level development, so that will come under the R&D.
Okay. You mentioned something about the difference between recognition and registration. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Recognition is basically a certificate which is predominantly given to give the status of their recognized or their infrastructure, their activity, their other parameters as per DSIR guideline. Now the second step is that if they want to get that, this is actually applicable to get a funding. Recognition means they are equal or they are complying the DSIR guidelines. That means they are eligible to get funding from any supportive agency.
Yeah.
But if they want to get that direct benefit, like, exemption on tax, customs benefit, that means directly they are getting monetary benefit, which is actually giving impact in the exchequers of the government of India. Yeah. So that time they have to be registered with us. So that is the second level. Yeah. So in many cases, we also give recognition, but we do not give registration. Case may be like that. That is also as per notification of customs and this income tax department, Ministry of Expenditure. There's many hospitals, they are recognized, they are actually under as a registered as a company. They are also doing research. So they are recognized, but we have not given them the registration because though the equipment, sometimes we are confused that they are also using for patient samples and also the commercial activity. So since they are not doing only for research, they are also doing aligned activity of the patients. That means they are getting fund or commercial benefit out of it. So we do not give them the direct exchequers benefit, that is, which will be used for tax exemption as well as excise duty exemption or customs duty exemption. So in that case, we are restricting to registration.
Yeah. So you give two letters basically, right? One is recognition, the other is a registration. Registration letter is important when you're submitting to the customs and all those people saying that you're eligible for a particular benefit.
Direct benefit.
Yeah.
Direct benefit, and recognition is basically indirect benefit and as a status quo.
Okay. Okay, great. I think we have covered a lot of ground. I don't want to take too much of your time, but Shoma, if you have any last few burning questions, please take it up. Otherwise, we should close now. I don't want to hold Dr. Banerjee for long.
There's just last one question has come, which I don't think it's very to be immediately registered, but yes, if there is something like a can it be fast track the registration process if they have any deadline and they immediately require DSIR recognition for some kind of a program that they're applying for?
So that is also basically case to case basis, but this department scheme is not actually to to cater or to serve the other departments program, right? We are working on our own way. We have some definite level of process flow. I have already cleared very well. So I cannot tell that this application will not go to the screening committee and we can say yes. This is not possible in the government systems. So we cannot do anything in a different way to actually comply the requirement of other department.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but on a practical note, Dr. Banerjee, one of the things that has worked is that you can apply with the provision that on the grant agency will give it on the condition, that they get the approvals in time at the time of decision, right? So that they do. Some of the funding agencies are willing to consider your approval conditional to the fact that by the time they release the money, you have your DSIR approval.
that is also true. And in many cases, we have seen that, why they want, we have to understand the logic, why they want, because they want DSIR recognition, because they want to see that whether they are at par DSIR standards or not. Then only they will give the fund. So they have a confidence on DSIR recognition. So that's why you have to also do the due diligence for that. So if a company wants to get that much of that type of fund from some funding agency, they should think of it 2 years before or 1 year before, because they know that there is a requirement of that.
Yeah.
So they can do that. So that means if they are not applying 1 year before, means they are not matured enough to apply or to get the DSIR recognition. So how they are eligible? Because other departments criteria is DSIR recognition means they want to get that type of facility, which is at part of DSIR.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Okay, I think
of course, I just want to say that if the company is getting some sort of good project from some other funding agency, we are always see it in a supportive mode, but not compromising our specific due diligence.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Banerjee. You covered a lot of ground and I think cleared a lot of doubts. So we'll close here. But I think you also put down your phone number and contact information in the chat box so people can connect if they have specific matters, relating to this particular program. I think which was listed over there. We'll stop here. Thanking you for all for this wonderful overview of this program and the informative session. Shoma, over to you, and then we can close.
Yeah. First of all, I'm requesting all the participants.
Thank you also, Ms. Soma and Dr. Premnath, for giving me this opportunity. And I'll be happy enough to be present in such type of program again if it is required. I'm always with you, sir, Dr. Premnath, sir.
Pleasure.
So
thank you so much.
I am also very much happy to see Venture Center's room once again after a long period.
Yes,
and I'll be happy if sometimes I get some time. I'll be happy to come over that side also.
Yeah, please come whenever. We will be happy to run an in-person event as well.